So, Daniel, you and I recently attended a informational session with the LinkedIn team. It was an invite-only session with one of the VPs of engineering, product manager, a team in charge of the feed and the algorithm that basically decides what to show you. And there were some pretty interesting insights. I think for me, what I gathered was there's three things really that the feed algorithm is optimizing for. One of these is relevance. Another is credibility. And then a third is conversational quality. So getting a little bit more specific on each of those with relevance, it was interesting because they didn't actually go into too much detail on what actually relevance means and how it's specifically defined. But generally, I think we can understand it to be like timeliness of the content. If, for example, you're talking about a trending news, but also how relevant is it to the audience that you're trying to reach. So based on their historical engagement and viewing patterns, is this piece of content likely to be relevant to that person? Second, with credibility, how credible is this person who's writing the post? How much of an authority are they to actually be speaking on the subject? And third, kind of tied to that, conversational quality, they're really focused on promoting creators that post content that sparks a conversation and sparks a discussion. So those are the three things they really emphasized for creators who want to get their content shown. But Daniel, I'm curious if you had any reactions to that or you have any other takeaways that you thought were pretty important.
My takeaways from this session, Matt, and to give the audience some context, there were literally less than 20 people on this session. I mean, I was so fortunate that you and I were invited to listen in on this, hear from LinkedIn staff, and I'm so fortunate to the people that invited us. But my takeaways from this were actually not really about the algorithm. And it was interesting to me because a lot of the other creators on the session were asking about the algorithm. And I feel like one of the things we've learned, even just pivoting Connection Accepted a little bit, is that the algorithm is really the audience. And if you make good content, that's what matters more than if you put hashtags or not, which is something they did talk about, by the way. And they said it actually could help. I was kind of shocked by that. They said, some people are still searching for hashtags and hashtags can help. But back to the overall thing of like what I was so excited about the session was that like they're focusing on getting LinkedIn creators more involved. Like they want to open source the algorithm more. And that's so exciting to me because LinkedIn has never put as much emphasis on its creators as it has now. And it just makes me so much more excited to create on a platform that's growing and more infrastructure is being built for creators like you and I, Matt, and whoever's listening in the audience.
Dude, that is so true. And one thing that I thought was pretty awesome is the brand link program. So somebody asked, are you guys investing more in creators? Is there going to be a creator fund or other opportunities for creators to monetize, get them more involved, et cetera? Because historically, LinkedIn sucks when it comes to, sorry, LinkedIn folks, if you're listening to this, historically, you guys haven't done the best job at encouraging creators to come onto the platform and to make content. If you look at YouTube or you look at TikTok or you look at Instagram, they've all got creator programs. They all got creator monetization. As a creator, you know that you can make good quality content and you can be rewarded for it. Whereas on LinkedIn, unless you have a business where the traffic that you're generating from your content is going to be funneled into that business, there isn't really a great direct method of monetizing outside of, say, B2B sponsorships. So the fact that they're investing in this brand link program, which it sounds like it's still relatively early stages, but it's great to see that there is an effort from the team at LinkedIn to actually get creators more involved, get them more informed. And I think in the long run, this is the right move. You're going to get more people on the platform. You're going to get more people posting. And ultimately, that's also going to drive up the quality of the content that's being shown because yes, more competition but I think competition lends to also just a higher bar for what actually gets shown to people. So I'm pretty bullish on it.
Me too, because they were excited when that question was asked, and they were telling us all to stay tuned, which we're excited for because you and I, Matt, have seen the positive impacts of posting on LinkedIn without even a monetization program needed. And I think for most people making content, the benefits, I mean, I think YouTube is a special case because there's like almost so much monetization built in, and you can make so much money from AdSense. But taking YouTube aside, if you're on TikTok or Instagram, the money you would make from some sort of ad share program or a TikTok creator fund is really nothing or pennies really compared to if you had your own business or something going on the side that could get you exponentially more money. So it's exciting to me to see that LinkedIn's going to invest more in creator monetization. But what excites me more about that they're excited about that is that they're spending more time on creators on LinkedIn because I think most people used to see LinkedIn as just this resume site that's kind of boring and you have to be almost robotic, your most professional self. And now with LinkedIn investing more into that creator infrastructure to encourage people to make content on it, which I think is the biggest signal from this brand link program, is that LinkedIn is shifting beyond. The use cases are not just to get a job, it's to build an audience. And that's part of the thesis behind this podcast. And also, it makes us create on the platform because why wouldn't you want to post and be part of a growing community? Like, that's so fun. That's what I loved about TikTok in the early days.
Couldn't agree more. I think we're still in the early days of LinkedIn's just evolution as a platform when it comes to creators. I think they have done a very good job in the area of helping businesses to find the types of people that and to build the kinds of relationships that lead to deals and to real, as Dan Roth says, economic opportunity. Like that is their North Star. But a really big part of that as well is the quality of the content on the platform. And you only are going to increase the quality. I see there only being a few ways to increase the quality of the content on any social platform. One is you need to increase the number of people that are creating. And clearly, the stats from 5 or so couple years ago was like, less than 1% of the audience base is actually posting. That's probably a little bit higher today, but clearly that wasn't the case for a while. 2 is you need to incentivize the people that are currently creating to create higher quality content. So increase the number of people posting, which just naturally I think means the competition is going to increase, which is going to also force people to create better content. But 2, also increase for the creators that are posting today, incentivize them to create better and better quality content. Now, how do you do that second piece? Part of it is having better incentives for people that are creating so that they're getting rewarded for high quality content. And also having better controls, I think, for eliminating spammy or low quality content, which is great to see that LinkedIn is taking a stance on, especially the automated AI comments. They're cracking down on AI commenting tools, and that I think is great news for everyone. Daniel, any other reflections from the conversation with the folks at LinkedIn?
Matt, I just pulled up my notes, and I think if I'm listening in the audience and they're like, "Oh, Daniel, Matt, you just got invited to some special LinkedIn panel with only 20 creators. Can I get something more specific?" So I am going to give a few more specific notes I have, like the ones you gave at the start, Matt. And that is some of the things that they said that were interesting to me is niche content can reach high intent audiences faster. When people join LinkedIn now, it's almost like Reddit where they're given where they choose their interest. They're like, do you want to see sports content? Do you want to see business and entrepreneurship content? Do you want to see more students or whatever it is? And they're going to tailor your interest that way, which can help niche creators reach high intent audiences faster. So I thought that was interesting. They also talked about that comment yes if you agree. One of the things that we talked about with Brooks Gamble, a previous guest, was how successful that method of comment email for guide or whatever it is, that method is starting to not work as much anymore on LinkedIn, which honestly doesn't surprise me, mainly just because the novelty of it wears off. Let's see.
Dude, honestly though, Daniel, just to chime in there, I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted, okay? Because as someone who runs a LinkedIn marketing agency and knows just how effective that tactic has been for clients of mine who want to give away some sort of resource in exchange for engagement and ultimately getting more people to look at their landing page or book a call with them. I feel conflicted, honestly, because yes, I think that engagement bait and engagement hacking, yeah, it's maybe not best for the platform in the long run in terms of the quality, but it's also one of those things where I think it's like whack-a-mole. Like if you kill that tactic, there's just gonna be another tactic that's gonna pop up in like 3 months. Like someone's gonna figure out some loophole to get around it. And something that popped up in my mind was, okay, maybe they're gonna have some detection code that like when it sees the same word being commented in the comment section 20 times, then it's going to be like, okay, this must be one of those comment yes, and I'll send you this guide. But if you're asking people to comment their email, then like the word is different every single time. So is it going to be able to pick up on that? This might be more of a technical thing, but I do think that people are smart enough where they're going to find some other engagement bait tactic if they kill that one. It's just people are so resourceful on LinkedIn. It's actually insane. Whenever it comes to making money online, people either build separate third-party tools to get around loopholes, or they figure out another approach, and then that approach goes viral, and then we have, another 6 months of arbitrage window where you can use this tactic. There was probably one that existed before the comment yes, and I'll send you this guide. And so my high level thoughts here, just taking a step back from all that, is I think although the intention is good, that that's kind of like tackling a symptom, not the root cause, which is that people who run businesses on LinkedIn, who use LinkedIn as a marketing channel, are always going to try to find ways to increase the engagement on their posts. There's always going to be someone who's going to try to be lazy and not necessarily write better content, but use an engagement pod or use a third party tool. And Daniel, you and I know there are so many people out there that run these engagement pods, and there's people that pay for free engagement. And I don't know if there's a good solution here. I think there's always going to be a market for people that want fake engagement because they don't want to put the real work in to create the kind of content that generates true engagement. But it just got me thinking.
Matt, you hit on a point that I was thinking myself internally the entire time that we were sitting through this session. And I was so shocked to hear so many of the other creators asking mainly about the algorithm because, like, I feel like in order to be successful on social media, it's not all the algorithm really. Like, you have to understand that it's other humans on the other side of the screen. Like, it's not you against the algorithm. It's like you working with an audience to make something happen. And like, we're building a movement together, Matt, with our audience. And it was so shocking to hear a lot of other creators wanting like certain algorithm hacks. And that's, I think, part of what inspired us to talk a lot more about communication because that's what social media is. It doesn't matter if they're links in your post or not, or if you're commenting for a guide, there are always going to be exceptions for whatever LinkedIn is saying and for whatever we say. What really matters more than the rules or the algorithm hacks or whatever you want to call it is that you're communicating something effectively that people resonate with. That's what matters more than if you have a link in your post, how many characters your hook is. If you're saying comment for a guide, if you're using hashtags, that's all just like, maybe 5% max of the post.
100%. Man, you articulated that so well, and I don't even know what I can add to that. The 80/20 of it, at the end of the day, is always going to be speak to a very specific audience in a way that resonates with them and talk about the things that they actually care about, provide solutions to their problems. And if you do that consistently and at a high level of quality, it's almost impossible that you're not going to get picked up by the algorithm, because the algorithm at the end of the day is just always changing, one, but two, it's always optimizing for the same thing, which is we want the people who are using the app, using LinkedIn, scrolling their feed, we want them to stay on the app for longer. Now, how do we do that? We do it by increasing the relevance of the posts that they're seeing. We do it by increasing the credibility. We do it by making sure that they're looking at content that sparks a discussion or sparks a conversation. All of those things just comes back down to you understanding who you're talking to and being able to effectively communicate an idea that they care about to them. And so I love this transition because I feel like it goes back to season 2 of Connection Accepted, and the reason why we are focusing more on this communication aspect rather than purely LinkedIn algorithm hacks and best, tips and tricks, growth hacks, because those things are always going to change as the algorithm changes. But what's not going to change is your ability to communicate effectively with your audience. The best content creators that we've seen and all the founders that we've interviewed on the pod so far who are absolutely killing it with content. I think about guys like Adam Robinson, Noah Greenberg, Jason Alvarez, Jason Alco. Like, these guys are really good at content, but they're really good at content because not because they're trying to optimize and min max every single little algorithm tweak, or because they are agonizing over whether to put a link in the comment section versus in the body of the post. No, they're good because they understand who they're talking to, and then they can cut through all the noise and really speak to the audience in a way that makes them want to listen and come back for more. That, at the end of the day, is the 80/20. Is that a wrap?
I think that's a wrap. And if you're thinking about the 80/20 of what place to start where you can get the most growth, start with LinkedIn. And to the LinkedIn comms team too, thank you very much for inviting Matt and I. We greatly appreciate it. And to the audience, thank you for watching.